Have you heard about the natural enzyme nattokinase? Word is, it's so effective at cleaning the blood, if you take too much, you run the risk of internal bleeding, and you might even bleed out. Sounds terrifying, right? Well, that might be exactly what a pharmaceutical company wants you to believe. Today, I'm going to show you why that theory scientifically doesn't hold up. Hi, I'm Danny Curtin. Thank you for joining me today. I've been personally using and recommending nattokinase for over 2 decades, and it's always been a novel and somewhat niche ingredient. But with cardiovascular issues surging since 2020, the secret is out. Nattokinase is gaining serious attention. But with anything new, as more people discover its potential to turn back the clock on cardiovascular health, a wave of questions and concerns has followed. One of the main concerns I hear all the time is, since nattokinase supports the body's natural blood cleansing process, does that mean it's just like a blood thinner? And taking too much could cause you to bleed out? Makes sense, right? But I think the answer will surprise you. Nattokinase is not a blood thinner. Yes, you heard that correctly. Nattokinase does not work like prescription blood thinners, which are better known as anticoagulants. Let me explain. But I've got to dig into the topic a little deeper so you can have a thorough understanding. First, why do we form blood clots in the first place? Well, it's pretty obvious. When you're injured and bleeding, your body protects itself by forming a clot, which is a complex chain reaction of enzymes, proteins, fats, minerals, and other cells all working in coordination with each other to stop the bleeding. I'm sure you've probably even heard of this process. It's called the coagulation cascade. For our discussion today, what you need to know is that one of the primary components involved in the coagulation cascade is called fibrinogen. Fibrinogen is always in circulation. It doesn't really do all that much, but once you're injured and the coagulation cascade begins, several different proteins work together to convert fibrinogen into fibrin, which is essentially a biological mesh that holds all the cells together to form a strong clot and, of course, stop the bleeding. But it's what comes after the coagulation cascade that nobody ever really talks about. What happens once the injury is healed? Does the clot just disappear like magic? Well, it's not magic, but it's definitely a miracle. Once healed, your system naturally dissolves the clot that you made. This is known as fibrinolysis, or the plasminogen system. The main component you should know about here is called plasminogen. Just like fibrinogen is converted into fibrin to form a clot, plasminogen is converted into plasmin to break down a clot. Plasmin is your body's own natural fibrin-degrading enzyme, which, like I said, dissolves old, excess fibrin-based clotting material. The plasminogen system is constantly working to maintain smooth, healthy blood flow. So to recap, you've got the coagulation cascade that stops the bleeding by forming a clot, and you've got the plasminogen system that breaks down old clot material and maintains smooth blood flow. It's really all about balance. You need clotting to prevent excessive bleeding, but you don't want excess clotting material sticking around once an injury is healed. Unfortunately, clot material does stick around, especially as we age. Like with so many other things, like my hair, we become deficient in our ability to create enough plasmin. A plasmin deficiency is how circulation begins to degrade and how circulating blood clots can begin to develop. Remember, plasmin is your body's own fibrin-degrading enzyme, which makes it the primary blood cleansing enzyme. And if you're deficient in the enzyme that cleans your blood, you've got a serious issue. Now, traditional medicine doesn't have a direct answer for blood cleansing. Instead, they have blood thinners, which do not clean the blood or break down blood clots. Instead, they interrupt the coagulation cascade, which I talked about earlier. The most common prescription blood thinners prevent the creation of certain chemicals that are needed to convert fibrinogen into fibrin, making it much harder for users to form blood clots, even when they may need to. The idea behind these drugs is to indirectly break down blood clots. They do this by preventing circulating blood clots from growing and new clots from forming, with the hope that the plasminogen system can catch up and break down any excess fibrin-based blood clotting material. But for those that are trying to support healthy circulation and the normal function of their cardiovascular system, Nattokinase supports the natural function of the plasminogen system and the breakdown of excess fibrin. Nattokinase does not interrupt the coagulation cascade or stop blood clot formation. This is completely different than a blood thinner. And what makes nattokinase even safer is that it's primarily attracted to cross-linked fibrin. Cross-linked fibrin is the mature, stable fibrin present in blood clotting material that has been marked by the immune system to be digested and excreted because it's no longer needed. It does not break down new, fresh fibrin that is being used to stabilize new injuries. This entire process is highly regulated by the immune system. When you supplement with nattokinase, you're simply supplementing extra enzyme potential that your immune system uses or does not use based on your body's need for fibrinolysis. In fact, when nattokinase first gained attention in the US market, the FDA was worried that it was a blood thinner. Specifically, they were concerned that nattokinase would deplete fibrinogen, the protein needed to form clots in the first place. But decades of public use, extremely rare adverse reaction reports, and plenty of research has shown that this is simply not the case. The bottom line is nattokinase is not a blood thinner, and taking too much won't cause you to bleed out. It simply supports your body's natural plasminogen system, helping to clear excess fibrin and keep blood flowing as it should. Understanding how it truly works makes it clear that the bleeding out concern is just a myth. If you enjoyed this content, please make sure to like it and share it with your friends and family. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Again, I'm Danny Curtin. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one.